Alright guys, thank you so much again for joining me in yet another episode of Kombat Kanvas. In this occasion we're here to talk about Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley Numanza. Guys, I'm actually very excited about this pay-per-view, this fight night, because actually it has a lot of cool names in it. I know that these days, you know, the cool thing to do on YouTube is to come here and bitch about all fights and say how the UFC is not doing the matchmaking properly these days. But honestly, I'm here to show some love for the UFC. You know, I'm a fan, and even though I can be very critical of the UFC, like, come on, in my first video I was already butchering the UFC for potentially tampering with the scales, because I do see them capable of doing that kind of thing. But when it comes to the entertainment side of it, I do believe the UFC is holding up pretty well these days, and I believe that many YouTubers just get discouraged for fight nights like this because maybe they started watching MMA at a better time where MMA or UFC was more exciting. And I get it, this might not be the prime of the UFC, but it's definitely a good card. It's definitely a solid card with good names in it. And for example, just to give you a brief recap, I'm personally excited to see Ricky Simon back in action. He's one of those fighters that always brings it, that always has something to bring to the table, and you're not getting past him if you're not actually like elite or very high level. For me, the weakness with Ricky Simon, to give you an example, is like the chin, but you know, overall he's very athletic and has like elite skills all around. So it's exciting to have a fighter like him in the card, as well as Malcolm Wellmaker in the return of Chris Montinho. So of course I'm looking forward to that fight and see if Montinho brings anything new to the table. I would be lying to you guys if I said that I've been watching Montinho's career out of the UFC. I honestly haven't. I don't think the guy has had many highlights, and if he has had any, it hasn't made it to my feed on Instagram, Threads, X, or YouTube, or anything at all. And of course, we have a fighter like Michael Chiesa back at it, not the most skillful fighter, kind of famous, kind of popular, so you're kind of looking forward to see how he's gonna lose this fight, and that is always exciting. Of course, Paul Craig, the return of Paul Craig. He says he never left, but you know, he's gotten done dirty by fighters these days. He is a plus 310 in the odds. Rodolfo Bellato is a minus 395. I honestly don't watch or haven't watched many of Rodolfo's fights. I've seen him, those tattoos, you know, you cannot mistake or forget about those tattoos, but honestly I can't say I'm a fan. Of course, he's getting match made with Paul Craig for the same reason. You know, he's a famous name, but not an elite fighter by any means, so he's getting matched up over there. But let's actually go into the main card. And of course, we're gonna jump straight into the main event. I'm really craving to comment on the main event with you guys in a couple minutes. But first, you know, I gotta acknowledge the fact that Alonso Menefield is back at it. In this case, he's a plus 500. So, you know, the odds are not loving him to win. Really a inconsistent fighter, a fighter that, you know, he has like the physical feats. Maybe he's not the taller or the tallest guy for a light heavyweight, but you know, he's stocky, he's muscular, he's athletic, he packs a punch. But definitely these days that hasn't been enough for him, and the fight IQ he's shown lately is just very questionable all around. Next we have Mansour Abdul Malik versus Cody Brandage. You know, Cody Brandage from that fight against Bo Nickel, and I'm glad to see him back in action these days. His opponent is a minus 800, so nobody expects Cody to win this one really. If he does, or does anything successful at all, that will already be a win for him. People are really not expecting anything, and you know, that loss to Bo Nickel didn't age very well given the state of Bo Nickel's stock these days. But here Cody is ready for another fight, and I do respect that he's a fighter and he always shows up. And of course, we have the return of No Love now with his face tattoo, Cody Garbrandt versus Raoni Barcelos, or however you pronounce that. My Portuguese is not great. My Spanish, very good. My English, decent. Portuguese, not good at all. And I'm actually very glad to see Cody Garbrandt back in action. He's really an exciting fighter, despite the glass chin. You know, he's always gonna bring it. He's athletic, he's fast, he packs a punch. Things that we already know about him. And of course, Barcelos has been doing interesting things in the division, despite, you know, not being exactly one of the younger fighters, one of the prospects that you hear about all the time. He definitely has a lot to bring to the division, and I'm actually excited about this fight, and looking forward to see it. Really, I am. Edmund Shevasian against Andre Petroski, a very interesting fight. I think that's gonna be one of those occasions where Edmund is gonna get wrestle fucked in the ground, and although Shevasian is the favorite, hear me out on this one, guys. This is free money, free money. Not exactly sure in what round this is gonna end, maybe second, maybe third, but Edmund hasn't shown the best fight IQ, and he's going against a heavy grappler. So, you know, heavy grappler against heavy striker, let's see what gives in. But if I had to choose, I would rather go for the underdog on this one. If you guys are betting, you know, I'm not betting on this fight, but definitely if I were to, I would go for Petroski on this one. Seems like free money for me. Also, Rose Namajunas against Miranda Maverick, very interesting fight. But then we get to the main event of the evening. Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare Usman against Joaquin Buckley. Now, guys, this fight I am fucking excited about, you know. It's been a while since we last saw Usman competing anything at all. He's just been in, like, doing his podcast with Seguro. He's been doing his thing in the desk, commentating fights, you know, like post-fight shows and that kind of thing. And it's interesting to see Kamaru Usman in that facet, in that area, in that new stage of his life. But he's still a fighter. He's still an active fighter. And I'm glad to see that he's back in action. If you pay attention to the last 3 fights that he's had, which also have been losses, firstly, he won 4 out of the 5 rounds fought against Leon Edwards, and in the 5th, he got knocked out. He got caught, you know. That happens to the best fighters, happened to GSP, you know, so happened to Kamaru as well. Now, when he went back to England for the rematch against Leon, one of the fighters thought it was a draw. I'm sorry, one of the judges thought it was a draw. And then 2 other judges saw it for Leon. And if you guys remember that fight, Leon cheated his ass off in that fight. From fence grabbing to glove grabbing to all sorts of faults or all sorts of cheating in the cage, because he knew he was in the UK, he knew he had the commission on his side, and honestly it was blatant what Leon was doing on that fight. And of course Kamaru was not the same, even coming from a brutal knockout, even fighting in enemy territory against the European champion. Kamaru actually delivered pretty well, and it was not an easy fight for Leon by any means, and Leon even had to take it to the decision. So honestly, for me, even though of course that will count as a loss, I didn't see Usman washed in that fight. It was not like seeing Volk against Topuria in their encounter after Volk had fought Islam like 2-3 months before that. It was not the same. It was a way better Kamaru Usman than it was a good Volk in their respective comebacks from knockout. So I think it was a good fight. Then after that, he goes, well, at that point he's in a 2-fight losing streak, and he goes in short notice to fight the boogeyman, the #1 contender, the undefeated explosive grappler Khamzat Chimaev. And you saw what he did in that fight. Not only did he not get submitted, not only did he not get finished at all, but he out-cardioed a guy that was in fight shape, in fight camp shape, you know. So it's just ridiculous how talented this guy is. People mock him for the knees, people you know, make fun of him for being old. Oh, Uncle Usman, oh, no knees Usman. Just imagine what this guy would have done with knees if he became the #1 pound for pound with no knees, right? Even he's talked about in like interviews this week with the media that in reality his knees were more fucked up in his debut than they were for his title defenses. So I really don't think that's a factor that's gonna affect his performance. I think he knows how to dance his way around that problem with his knees and other stuff. That's what fighters do. None of them are 100% healthy, and still you couldn't tell, you know. So when it comes to Usman, I actually expect great things. I don't think it's gonna be an easy fight. I don't think he's gonna be fragile in there. I don't think he's gonna be backing up. I think Usman's spirit and competitiveness hasn't been broken at all despite the losses, because he knows it hasn't been bad losses at all. So really I see a confident Kamaru Usman coming back, but he knows the challenge that he's about to face. In this case, Usman is a plus 225 against Numanza minus 278. So definitely the odds and you know, the fans are not really expecting him to win this one. Potentially a fourth loss in a row for him. And you know, in this case, he's fighting for a #1 contendership. If there was to be a loss, I still don't think this would be a signal that he's washed, unless he performs like really bad, which I don't think is gonna happen. And on the other hand, we got Joaquin Buckley, which, you know, they both have like similar records. Usman is 24-0. Buckley, despite how many times we've seen him losing and getting KO'd, he's 21-6-0. So really not a bad record at all. That could perfectly be the record of a champion. So not a problem. I think if he had never been to middleweight, he would only have, you know, a couple losses, maybe just 2, maybe tops like 3 losses, and then all of the other fights as wins. So, you know, I really think Joaquin has an underrated resume, an underrated record, and now that he's facing a former champion, you know, what really preoccupies me about this fight for Kamaru Usman, not that I'm favoring either guy, but that worries me about this fight, is that Joaquin is so explosive, right? So you see them both, and they are both like both very compact and muscular, but Joaquin Buckley is just so explosive. He always goes forward, he always puts the pressure, he has this greedy mentality to keep pushing forward all the time. He's faced much bigger guys and still hasn't been intimidated by Imavov or by Kevin Holland. Fair enough, he lost both fights, but he was not intimidated and he was always pushing forward, even when he was being or getting a little bit bullied in there. And his spirit never broke, so I don't think Kamaru has enough power, enough size, enough wrestling skills for Numanza to be intimidated or controlled or give octagon space or even back up. I really don't think so. I think Joaquin has faced people that are more explosive, stronger, bigger, that punch a bigger pack than Usman, and that's the kind of the cheat code that this guy has, Joaquin does. Given that he previously had a career facing killers, like the elite of the elite, in a division that he didn't have any business being in, and that his skills were not enough if the physical attributes are too much for him, you know. But when he faces such a challenge and kind of thrives in middleweight, gets a win here and there, and then goes down to welterweight and he realizes how much easier fighting can be, I think that was the ultimate motivation for Buckley to be like, oh, if I was kicking ass up there, I'm kicking ass down here to another level, and that's what he's done. Yeah, fair enough, he's lost some rounds in welterweight. It's not like he's been completely dominant, but in a fight like the fight against Wonderboy, where he was losing rounds, he finishes the guy, right? He goes ahead and finishes poor Wonderboy with the very second KO loss of his career, and it only happened because he came across Numanza. So you know that's always gonna be on the table. If I have to give a prediction for this fight between Kamaru and Joaquin Buckley, I would say there's, for me, 2 potential possibilities. Number 1, my prediction would be that Buckley TKOs Usman in the 4th round, whether it is because Usman's face is swelling up, or because there's a cut, or just because hurts him really bad and TKOs him on the ground. I don't think Joaquin is gonna like clean KO Usman, because I think Usman is that good that won't happen to him all that often. If that were to happen, I would, be hesitant whether or not Usman is a bit washed and has no business competing at the elite level. I still think he has it, so I'm gonna say that Usman, if he gets finished, worst case scenario is like a TKO on the ground because he got wobbled and Joaquin just started raining ground and pound, and the referee has no other option but to stop it. But I don't see Usman going, flatline KO'd, not really. Second option I consider is Joaquin Buckley jabs and hurts and just continuously hurts Usman throughout 3-4 rounds, and by the fourth they just stop it like they did with Colby. In this case, Kamaru is not the golden goose that Colby is for the UFC, or at least I've never seen the UFC giving that preferential treatment to Usman out of nowhere. If he's gotten good treatment, it's because he was a great champion and has always been a great fighter. But even though the UFC is not gonna protect Usman from a TKO like they did with Colby Covington against Numancia, I do believe there might be a stoppage if it gets too bad. That corner, Kamaru's corner, they're there to protect him. They are veterans in the game, and if Kamaru is just flat out losing that fight, getting hurt like crazy, and his face is swelling up, or a broken nose, or anything like that, I think they will stop it. So that would be the second best guess or prediction that I could give for this fight. Unfortunately, I don't see Kamaru winning this one. I think Kamaru's best time is already behind him, and the reason he shined the way he did during his run is because he was facing guys with which he had a clear advantage against, and in retrospective it's clear or easy to know that because we already saw the fights against Masvidal and against Colby, and we know it was never gonna be close, or that Kamaru in retrospective was literally better than both guys. But really, with this new generation of welterweights, with how good the talent has gotten, Kamaru having the wrestling he has doesn't make him special like it did when he was coming up, that he was dominating guys on the ground or taking them down. These days he's not the best striker. There was a time where it was scary to exchange with Kamaru Usman in welterweight because you could have gotten KO'd. Yeah, even a good striker like Masvidal that was KOing people left and right in 2019 faced Usman and got knocked out, so that gave everybody this impression that Usman is this crazy striker. He's not. Guys, he's not. He's a wrestler that learned how to throw a very solid jab and a very powerful two, but in reality Usman is no elite striker, really. He has an elite jab. You could say he has an elite jab and very top level boxing. No kicks, no calf kicks, no leg kicks, no head kicks are gonna come from Kamaru. Yeah, you're gonna see a kick here and there like you saw against Chimaev, and then he's gonna fall on his ass. So Kamaru is not risking it too often for a high kick, and it's just the boxing, and I don't think that's enough to intimidate or control a guy like Buckley that has already faced killer strikers like Wonder Boy that have all the speed, all the timing, all the knowledge, all the technique to make it happen, and also the power. Right, Buckley has already faced people with power, and I really don't think that's gonna make him hesitate to throw or exchange with Kamaru. And also, if anything, if I had to guess or to bet, I would say Buckley can take a punch better than Usman can. Not that Usman has a glass chin these days, but I just don't think Usman can take a punch the same way these days, and you really need to clean KO Buckley to get him out of there. I think he's very resilient, and this is a very good fight. They both have iron wills. They are coming both to win, so that's what makes fights interesting, when both guys want to show up. Fair enough, Usman doesn't have the same motivation these days because he's now a commentator. He already made all the money. He's on the twilight of his career. So of course we already know he's not as hungry as Buckley is. But come on, I don't think Usman wants to go out there and make a fool of himself or shame himself with his performance and just show up for a paycheck and then just crawl like Anthony Smith and just give up. Not at all. I think he's showing up to win, to give his best performance, and I think that a part of Usman knows that even his best performance is not the same It's not the same guarantee that he's gonna win as when he would put an awesome performance back in like 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's just not the same. The level has changed. The new generations are do what he could do back then better than he ever did it. So you know, you look at a guy like Sean Brady, and you know he's a way better, way more effective grappler and submission artist than Kamaru is. Just to give you an example in terms of submissions, right? So that Brady does the submissions and groundwork better than Usman does, but he doesn't have the stand-up game that Usman did. So fair enough, you could say that Usman can still compete with a Sean Brady. But what when you put Usman against a long, lanky, good striker with good wrestling like Shafkat, or when you face Usman against a fast, dynamic striker that can also mix it up on the ground like Ian Gary, or what if you like Usman never fought guys like that coming up, you know, as tall, as heavy grapplers, as strong. I don't think he ever did. He always had the size advantage or the grappling advantage, or in some way, even when the other guy had equal grappling, like when it happened with Colby, you knew that Usman had the longer reach, the stronger punch. So even physically, even when skillfully, Usman and Colby were pretty even in both fights. You know, Usman physically had the talents, the gifts. But these days, fighters in the top or that are trying to reach the top have that same skill as well. So Usman is not gonna take the same chance of going to the pocket with a Buckley like he did against a Colby. But you know, Colby is freaking glass hands and is never gonna like wobble you or really hurt you. The only times Colby kind of got Usman hurt was when he kicked him to the body, and those were the times that you saw Usman like feeling it, right? Because come on, it's a freaking kick. Anybody can throw a hard kick, but you can rest assured that Buckley packs a stronger kick, Buckley packs a stronger punch, and is way more hungry than any of these guys. So personally, I'm a big fan of Buckley. The other day I did ask him to react to one of those regional viral clips where the debuting guy landed a spinning kick like Numanza landed on Empa Kansanganai, and I tagged the guy on the video asking him to react to it, as well as other people, of course. And a couple days later, Buckley posted the video like reacting to the KO. It was very good, and he was like acknowledging everybody that tagged him in the video. I actually commented on the post and thanked him for watching the video, and he replied to that comment as well. So that was actually pretty cool to see Buckley so close to the fans and interacting with us. That really made me a fan. I was already a fan of Usman. Really, I don't want any of these guys to lose, but it's just such a good competitive fight that maybe I wish it would have been made 1-2 years ago when Usman, I was more sure of where Usman was at. These days I'm not too sure as to what he's gonna do or how he's gonna show up. But honestly, just like Buckley, I'm expecting the best Usman in a very good main event, guys. So if you watched all along through this part of the video, I really appreciate you for doing that. I was planning to do an intro at the beginning of the video, like acknowledging the mistakes in the previous video about some background noises and stuff. I'm working on that. I have this bad habit of clicking on the videos to connect my ideas, so I apologize for that. I'm working on that as well. I'm just coming back to this world of recording and producing, so I'm kind of relearning a lot of things that I was already doing well, and of course always looking forward to make better videos for you guys. My first goal is to reach the 100 videos, and I appreciate you guys for sticking around to the second one. Even if there's very few people around these days, I'm so excited about what's to come and all the fights that we're gonna come in and watch together. As soon as I have a bigger audience, I'm gonna be making live streamings, reacting to fights, and a lot of things that I have in mind that I need an audience for. But in the meantime, we're gonna keep grinding, gotta keep commenting and sharing these videos with you guys. I appreciate you supporting from the get-go, commenting on the video, leaving a like and a subscribe, and recommending it to people that there's a new small MMA channel on the growth, and that you guys are excited for this fight night and you want to share this video with your friend and comment on it because it's an awesome fight and you love commenting fights just like me. So again, from Kombat Kanvas, this is it for now. Appreciate your watch, appreciate your subscription, your like, your comment, and I hope you have a very good night. Bye bye, and see you at the fights.